what I want to talk about with Scotty Scheffler is what makes him so unique as a golfer. And it's his faith, right? And it's sort of like, I had a class at Richmond, which most of the football team took with me because it was deemed to be not the most difficult class in the world, but I learned a ton in it. It was called Church and State, right? And we talk about the separation of church and state in government, how important that is. And it is important, right? But like, you don't really separate church and sports. I mean, you can if you want to, but a lot of times it crosses over. And I think what we're seeing in Scotty Scheffler is the best example of what faith can do for an athlete. And some of that great example is not great for television. It is not great for folks that follow the PGA. When I was a little younger, and we can all remember when Tiger was exuding his dominance, right? If Tiger Woods, so Scheffler did what he does a lot of times when he's in a rhythm, right? He basically lapped the field on Saturday. So he goes into Sunday with a big lead, and he's so smooth, right? Just knocking down par after par after par with the lead. You could tell he and his caddy, who we're going to talk about in a minute, because that whole thing kind of, this whole thread makes a lot of sense. When you talk about the faith, his caddy's a big part of that. But it's not as exciting for people when someone's so measured and so even keeled and someone with such great perspective is dominating. Again, with Tiger, if he was up 4 strokes, 5 strokes, 6 strokes, everybody would watch because it was Tiger Woods. And he was super compelling. He was super interesting. It was also highlights, a lot of times with Tiger. Scotty Scheffler, and I am not, Steve Sands, or I don't pretend to be, right? Or Ian Baker Finch, or I'm not here to handicap golf for you. But from a distance, I can talk to you about sports and excitement and what's compelling and what drives ratings. And Tiger Woods drove ratings. Scotty Scheffler's not going to hit the ball too much further than anyone else. He's not going to make these magical saves, right, where he gets himself into trouble and he has to become a magician, right? Because here he is, he's, lying deep in the rough for 2. Like, that's not who we get with this guy. And the quote before the British Open, which I want to read now because I think that really illustrates where his head was at. Remember, this is before he won, okay? And he was asked this question about golf, and this is what he talked about. This was, I think, last Tuesday or Wednesday. He said, "This is not a fulfilling life. It's fulfilling from the sense of accomplishment, but it's not fulfilling from a sense of deepest places in your heart. I love the challenge. I love being able to play this game for a living. It's one of the greatest joys of my life. But does it fill the deepest wants and desires of my heart? Absolutely not." He talked about, his passion to win the Open. And he said, of course I want to win the British Open, but I do know that winning the Open, it leads to a glorious 2 minutes, and then it's on to next week. And that is the hamster wheel that all of us can get on in life, whatever we're trying to succeed, right? The climb is usually the best part and the rhythm of the climb and the process. But when you get there, if you allow yourself to be so focused on this one thing, there can be an emptiness that comes with this great success. And I think with Scotty Scheffler being so grounded in his faith, it doesn't make for this exuberant, exciting story. But what it makes for is a glorious reflection of what a life, when lived with great faith, the right way can look like. And this is all my opinion, right? But like being sober, AA, we talk a lot about a higher power and having God in your life. But it is not about running around banging a Bible, or in our case, the AA Big Book, off of people's heads, right? It's promotion by attraction. If you're living the right way, you're quiet about the message, but you're huge on actions. And that's what we see from Scotty Scheffler. And when you talk about performance, when someone has great faith, right? A real great faith, not I just scored a touchdown and thanks to the Lord, and first and foremost, I want to put God in my life. But then you're off the field and you're not living that way, right? Like, I think if you're truly all in on this thing, you end up like Scotty Scheffler. Now, he is who he is, right? He's not a super bombastic, compelling figure, but also that is that lack of sizzle, right? I think that has a lot to do with his humility, which comes with practicing his faith. And I think part of his success is because of his faith. And I mean success on the golf course, because if you have perspective like Scotty Scheffler has, like that locked in hardcore perspective and that locked in understanding your belief system. I'm not saying this is everybody's belief system and, whatever works for you, whatever, that's none of my business. But we're specifically talking about Scotty Scheffler. When you are able to step back and think, okay, I've just got to I'm prepared. Now I'm telling everybody how to golf. I don't, but this is anything in life. I'm prepared. My part is done. I'm going to get up to this shot and I'm going to do everything I know how to do. But outside of that, God is in control. The higher power is in control. The universe is in control. Whatever works for you, the understanding that I've handled my portion of this mission, and now God, my faith, whoever is going to do the rest. I believe that alleviates such pressure off of athletes. I saw it, my firsthand experience, the first time this was really, my eyes were open to this was Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. Deeply religious guy. And he talked about the pressure just not being there in the Super Bowl because of his faith, right? And it allowed him to go out there and just wing it, right, in the best way possible. Now, Scotty Scheffler is way more talented, right, and skilled at his particular sport. So when you combine those two things with a guy like Scheffler, it's absolutely lethal. The only issue is it's absolutely boring for a lot of people. And that's just how it is. And I think too, more into this, he's a simple guy. Scotty Swingler, that's our producer, Scotty Swingler. Scotty Scheffler, he met his wife in high school. I was reading his caddy he met at a Bible study. It's all around him. And I'm not saying everybody needs to run out there and get religion or find God. I'm just saying this is exactly what we're watching here. This is the best example of faith in sports that I've seen in a while, because it's not about banging us over the head with it. It's just a quiet confidence and a humility that's deafening, right? Because it's deafening because it's quiet, and we want so much more out of this guy. And by the way, although he may look like he's 40, he's only 29. So God willing, we'll see a lot more of this, right? All right, we saw some drama over the weekend. Of course we did, because we're talking about the WNBA. Now, I am a fan of both the WNBA and the drama that the league provides. And no shortage on drama here on Saturday or over the weekend. And I think that this was very necessary.